This movie starts by showing a busy police station in France. There's a video going around showing how a group of people dressed as police hurt a 13-year-old boy named Eider so badly that he died. Then we see Lieutenant Abdul, who's a soldier, talking to reporters about how his younger brother got killed. In the crowd, Karim, who's Eider's older brother, and Eider himself listen to what Abdul is saying. After the press conference, a guy with long hair throws a homemade bomb in front of the police station, causing a lot of trouble. He and his friends take the chance to steal police gear and weapons. They plan to use them against the police who won't find the ones responsible for Eider's death. Later, Karim and his gang grab a police car and go back to Athens, where they live. It looks like they're getting ready to start a rebellion led by Karim. On the other side, a policeman named Jerome and his fellow officers are getting ready to face whatever might happen in Athens. They're also worried about a guy named Sebastian, who lives in a nearby building, and they've been keeping an eye on him for a while. Meanwhile, the older brother of Abdul, Karim, and Eider, whose name is Mokhtar, has some problems. He uses cocaine, and he's also involved in selling illegal weapons. When the riots happened in Athens, he tried to hide these illegal weapons by taking them out of Athens in an ambulance and burying them in the forest. But Karim's group locked all the ways, so Mokhtar had to hide in an empty shop that used to be a shisha lounge. He even had to be a bit forceful with Karim's gang to make them go along with his plan, and they couldn't fight back because they knew he's their leader's older brother. Karim tried to stop him, but Mokhtar scolded him. Later on, the people in Athens saw police guarding the housing area, and they started to panic. They blamed Karim and his gang for causing trouble with the police. They even quartered Abdul, who had just come to Athens for Eider's memorial service, and wanted him to stop Karim's actions. Abdul tried to mediate and look for his younger brother. That's when he found Sebastian in the flower garden. Sebastian seemed really calm, unlike the other residents, and Abdul made sure to keep him safe in a room so he wouldn't be influenced by Karim and his gang. Abdul hadn't met Karim yet, so he decided to go back home where people were praying for Eider. His mom asked him to change and join them. Just then, Karim came home, and the prayers had to stop because the police started attacking. Abdul, who hadn't had a chance to see Karim, found his younger sister and asked her where Karim was, but she scolded him and told him to help Karim, who was fighting for justice for Eider. She thought Abdul had always been on the police's side, so hearing this, Abdul decided to go find Karim and sort things out. Outside, Abdul helped the residents evacuate, and he met his mother, who told him to take care of Karim. Soon, there was a clash between the residents and the police. On the other hand, Karim kept resisting and even ordered his friends to drop a refrigerator from the building's roof, which made the police use tear gas. Karim got hurt in the hand, but he quickly patched himself up and went back to fight with his friends. He heard from one of his friends that the police had entered from another part of the neighborhood, so Karim and his gang ran towards them, ready to face the police without any weapons. That night, after all the troublemakers had been arrested, a cop named Morad helped free Abdul, who had been caught up in the earlier chaos. Morad knew Abdul was in the French military and suggested they team up to stop Karim's rebellion. If they didn't, the police would forcefully enter Athens. Meanwhile, Karim was motivating his crew not to fear the police forces that were out there. He reminded them that their mission was to uncover the identity of the cops who had killed Eider. Karim didn't trust the media's claim that the attackers weren't police officers, so he asked his friends to capture one of the policemen as a hostage to make the police reveal the truth about the attackers. Shortly after, police units began entering the Athens area from different directions. Karim's group greeted their arrival by setting off fireworks in the sky. As the police advanced, fireworks were aimed at them, and the police retaliated by hitting the rebel members. Eventually, the police had to stop because the rebels targeted them with fireworks, forcing the police to take cover behind shields in the middle of Athena. Seeing the police unable to move, Karim went downstairs and rose a homemade bomb. That homemade bomb exploded, making the police officers struggle to breathe and see due to the smoke. They were forced to retreat. Unfortunately, Jerome and some others got separated from their group, so he hid to avoid the rebel members trying to capture him. With a limp, Jerome attempted to leave Athens but was spotted by some of Karim's group. He went into hiding again, changed his clothes to avoid being recognized as a cop, but he was eventually caught and taken hostage by the rebels. Outside Athens, Abdul, still with Morad, watched a video of Jerome, who was badly beaten and tied up. In the video, Karim demanded that Eider's killer be identified and given a life sentence. He threatened to kill Jerome if the police didn't meet his demands. Morad, hearing this, asked Abdul for time to fulfill Karim's demands and helped Abdul convince Karim to make peace with the police before the government sent in the army to deal with the rebel group. Abdul, being Karim's older brother, returned to Athens easily. He tried to persuade Karim to stop the rebellion, but Karim was determined to continue, especially since the police and government have remained silent about Eider's killer. Abdul tried to make Karim understand that the rebellion wouldn't bring Eider back to life. While hugging his younger brother, Abdul asked Karim to reconsider, but Karim refused and even pushed and spat at Abdul, calling him a pawn of the Paris military. He believed Abdul should have died instead of innocent Eider. Abdul didn't pay much attention to his younger brother and decided to release Jerome. Karim and his group tried to chase them while firing fireworks. As Abdul and Jerome approached the exit, they were told to lie down by the police on guard to avoid being shot. Unfortunately, a shot missed and hit Jerome in the leg. While Karim and his members tried to avoid police attacks, Abdul and Jerome had to go back inside and hide with Mokhtar and his men. To keep others away, Mokhtar fired a warning shot, preventing Karim and his members from entering. Abdul asked about a way out of Athens, and Mokhtar explained that his men were searching for an escape route by digging in the back room. When Mokhtar realized Jerome was a police officer, he became angry with Abdul. During the argument, their mother called, but they didn't answer, and they continued arguing until Mokhtar called his friend to help Jerome leave Athens to improve his image in front of the police. Meanwhile, Karim, with his members on standby, also received a call from his mother. Despite the dangerous situation, he answered the call. After the call, Karim instructed his members to block Jerome from escaping through the back door while he tried to threaten Abdul, who was hiding, by saying his older brother would hand over Jerome. When his request was ignored, Karim lit the fuse of the Molotov cocktail he was carrying. However, the police were behind him, ordering him to put it down. Ignoring the police's orders, Karim intended to throw the Molotov, but the police shot him first, causing the Molotov to fall and burn Karim's body, which had been shot. Abdul rushed to put out the fire, consuming his younger brother's body, and held Karim tightly. Amidst his sorrow, he brought Karim's body into a room, where Mokhtar pretended to grieve for Karim's death. Abdul saw through Mokhtar's act, and, overcome with anger and sadness, lashed out at him. Haunted by guilt over Karim, Abdul took it upon himself to leave the ongoing rebellion and seek revenge for his brother's death. Fueled by anger, Abdul approached Jerome and received a call from Morad, who informed him that the police who shot Karim were not acting on his orders. Not wanting to make a wrong decision, Abdul instructed his comrades to take Jerome to the rooftop of the building. He also told Sebastian to destroy the safe holding their weapons for future use against the police. Shortly after, Abdul reached out to the police and demanded they reveal the name of the officer responsible for Eider's death. He threatened to harm Jerome if the police didn't provide the information within an hour. Meanwhile, Sebastian, who was feared by the police, surprisingly possessed the skill to create homemade bombs with basic tools. With this talent, he opened the weapons safe and distributed them to the rebel members. He also instructed a few members to position gas canisters and spill gasoline at various points in the Athens building. In the middle of the night, Morad suddenly got in touch with Abdul and urged him to end the rebellion. He emphasized that the person responsible for Eider's death wasn't a police officer. Abdul, upon hearing this, asked Morad to bring the killer to him, even if they weren't from the police. Morad replied that he couldn't do that, which infuriated Abdul. He rushed to Jerome, the police officer, while keeping the phone connected to Morad. Abdul subjected Jerome to torture, and a gunshot rang out. Thankfully, Abdul intentionally missed, not wanting to kill the police officer. A little while later, Abdul ordered all the rebel members, including Jerome, whom he had released, to vacate the Athens building. Despite knowing that Sebastian was planning to blow up the place, Abdul remained behind with a distant look on his face, pondering the injustices his family had endured. On the other hand, Jerome and the rebel members were seen removing their clothes and surrendering to the police. As morning broke, Sebastian began arranging numerous gas cylinders in various parts of the room, and Abdul was in another room, seemingly resigned to his fate in the explosion that would destroy the building. Towards the end of the movie, there's a scene where Eider is shown lying down, brutally attacked by a group dressed as police officers. One of them even records this cruel act. After leaving Eider helpless, these men head to a spot to burn the police uniforms they were wearing. By looking at the tattoos on one of the members, it is revealed that Eider's killer is actually part of an anti-government extremist group that intentionally stirs up conflict between the people and the government. The moral lesson from this story is that the quest for justice and revenge can result in a never-ending cycle of violence and destruction, causing more harm than good.